narrows down the final days of one of the most disturbing celebrity murder cases of our time.
New video footage of a girl believed to be Celeste at David's concert in late August has surfaced, which would be the last date she was seen alive, but the internet is divided on the latest update about this footage. A girl who looks a lot like Celeste was spotted at David's concert on either the 23rd or the 24th of August in Silver Spring, Maryland. She was up on the balcony on the side of the stage watching on, and it's hard to deny that she resembles Celeste. She looks a lot like her.
Grainy concert footage from David's show has blown up the internet, and for good reason. Viewers swear the figure caught on camera looks exactly like Celeste Rivas, and now the FBI's latest revelation just made everything 10 times darker. From a twisted, shifting timeline to the haunting question of who actually knew the truth, this case is unraveling in ways nobody saw coming. So here's the deal.
In another video, we see David pointing at the girl on the balcony while he makes a half heart. The guy she's standing next to is also David's brother, which raises even more questions, and particularly how much did he know about Celeste and David's relationship? Because if he's his brother and he's around backstage, going to concerts, hanging out with Celeste, he must know a lot about at least their relationship.
The FBI just confirmed one of the creepiest updates yet in David's homicide investigation. Newly enhanced video from his September concert in Silver Spring, Maryland, allegedly shows his girlfriend, 15-year-old Celeste Rivas, alive and present in the crowd. That detail alone completely rewrites the timeline and flips the whole investigation on its head. True crime fans are absolutely losing it because this changes everything we thought we knew about when Celeste's tragic story actually ended. The clip shows a girl near the balcony section. Same height, same hair, same quiet posture. And the resemblance is almost too close to deny. If that really was her, the implications are chilling.
That was her in the video. This raises the question of whether or not 12 days was enough time for her body to decompose to the state that it was in. Now, I'm no expert on this stuff, but I will say I was in LA during September during this time, and it was extremely, extremely hot. So the fact that she was in a trunk, closed up, wrapped in plastic in that heat, could potentially speed up the decomposition process, in my mind, but also according to ChatGPT.
It would mean Celeste was still alive just days before David's Tesla was found abandoned in the Hollywood Hills, with her remains discovered inside. What once seemed like just another piece of shaky, blurry fan footage might now be the biggest breakthrough in one of the most disturbing celebrity homicide mysteries ever. And here's the part that's really making people's skin crawl. The girl in the video had the same hairstyle, the same movement, and that eerie, familiar presence we all remember from Celeste's photos. She was wearing a black tube top, the exact same kind of outfit Celeste was found in when her body was discovered in David's trunk.
TMZ, who posted and reported on these videos, has updated their article to say that the woman in the videos is not Celeste Rivas, according to a source that is connected to the case. So that could potentially be even a police officer that has already looked into this in their investigation. The fact that they very clearly made this update and blatantly said it is not her according to their source connected to the case makes it sound like they are absolute.
That detail alone was enough to stop even the most skeptical viewers in their tracks. This wasn't some random coincidence. It was a chilling connection that made people sit up and question everything they thought they knew about this case. But it gets even darker. Eagle-eyed fans caught something in that concert clip that made the entire sighting both heartbreaking and deeply suspicious. At one moment, David looks right toward the balcony and points directly at the girl, then makes half of a heart gesture with his hand. The look, the gesture, the energy, it all screamed recognition. It wasn't just stage interaction. It felt personal, emotional, almost romantic. And now it's taking on a way more sinister meaning. And that's not even the wildest part. Standing right next to the girl was David's own brother. That detail threw everyone into a frenzy, because if this girl really was Celeste, then David's family wasn't just aware of what was happening. They were part of it.
Why was David and Celeste telling the moderators to delete streams and clips and things? Watch this clip.
Maz, can we delete all VODs? And then as soon as the stream ends, delete the stream too? Wait.
Oh, look it. Answer that one. That's so mean if you don't answer.
That means his inner circle could have been protecting or even covering up a relationship that was never supposed to happen. Now people are demanding answers. How much did they all really know? And how long had this been going on behind closed doors? The timing makes it even scarier. The concert took place only about 12 days before David's Tesla was found abandoned near his Hollywood Hills home, the same car where Celeste's decomposed body was later discovered wrapped in plastic. Authorities initially believed she'd been gone for weeks, maybe even months. But this footage changes everything. If she was alive that night, the entire timeline just collapsed in on itself. And the truth looks way darker than anyone imagined. The timing of Celeste's decomposition quickly became one of the most critical and confusing parts of this case. People started asking the same haunting question. Could a body really reach that advanced state of decay in just 12 days? Experts say maybe, especially with LA's brutal September heat, a sealed car trunk, and the plastic wrap that could have sped things up dramatically.
What makes this even more eerie is that if it's not her, the fact that David was hanging out with a Celeste lookalike at a time that Celeste was probably already dead. This just makes my skin crawl.
If that concert footage is real, it would mean Celeste's final moments happened in a terrifyingly short window of time, one that points straight back to David himself. He would have been one of the very last people to see her alive. True crime sleuths online went into overdrive, zooming in on every frame of the video, analyzing her face, her body language, even how she stood in the crowd. And what they found was unsettling. The girl's posture, her calmness, her vibe. It all felt familiar, almost like she was used to being there. She didn't look lost or nervous. She looked like someone who belonged in David's world, someone close to him. That eerie sense of comfort had people convinced they were watching Celeste right there in real time. But as more eyes started picking apart the footage, cracks began to show. Some viewers noticed inconsistencies. The girl looked a bit older than Celeste would have been, and her height and frame didn't fully match the details from the missing person reports. That started to divide the internet. Still, even with those doubts, the resemblance was strong enough to keep the theory alive, and the speculation wild. Because if that really was Celeste, then it changes everything. It means she wasn't gone for weeks like authorities thought. She was alive, moving, smiling, and still connected to David just days before she was found in his Tesla. If the concert footage had been real, it would have completely flipped the entire investigation on its head. It wouldn't have been a missing person case anymore. It would have turned into a direct and urgent homicide probe with David sitting right at the top of the suspect list. The clip also raised heavy questions about what Celeste and David's relationship really looked like in her final weeks. If she was truly there at his concert, being seen, being acknowledged by him in public, that wasn't the hidden, secretive situation people thought it was. It hinted at something way bolder, maybe even reckless. Either David was shockingly confident about showing off an illegal relationship, or there was way more to their connection than anyone on the outside could have guessed. Social media went into total meltdown mode. Fans and true crime followers were zooming, screenshotting, and enhancing the footage like it was a full-on investigation of their own. People were creating side-by-side comparisons, matching outfits, analyzing lighting, even reading body language. Everyone wanted to prove they'd found the last known image of a girl whose story had ended far too soon. The emotional intensity behind it all was unreal. But then, everything came crashing down. All that effort, all those theories, all that hope for answers, it was all built on one massive mistake. The supposed proof that had the internet convinced, totally wrong. The FBI came through with a revelation that flipped the whole narrative upside down. And this time, it came straight from the federal level, not some random source online. The moment that bombshell dropped, it silenced the internet. Federal investigators confirmed that the girl in that viral concert footage was not Celeste Rivas. Even TMZ, the outlet that first pushed the theory into the spotlight, had to backtrack and update their story, clearly stating that the woman caught on camera wasn't Celeste at all. The so-called smoking gun everyone thought would crack the David case just went up in smoke. They cited a direct source tied to the investigation, someone who flat out ruled out the ID with zero hesitation. This wasn't a maybe or a vague suggestion. It was an absolute statement that slammed the door on all speculation. That level of certainty meant the feds had clearly dug deep into the footage, knowing how massive this case had become and how many people were hanging on every update. It's very likely the FBI went frame by frame, using facial recognition tech, expert analysis, and every tool at their disposal to confirm once and for all that the girl in that video was not Celeste Rivas. But here's where things take a terrifying turn. This wasn't just a harmless mix-up. The debunking actually made things even darker. Because if the girl in that concert footage wasn't Celeste, then David was out there performing on stage, smiling, and publicly acknowledging a Celeste lookalike while the real Celeste was probably already gone. That realization hit people like a punch to the gut. The idea that he could have been flaunting a doppelganger in public, right after or even while knowing what happened to Celeste, is absolutely chilling. It raises disturbing questions about his state of mind and whether that moment was a taunt, a cover-up, or something much sicker. Now think about the timing. Celeste Rivas was first reported missing in April 2024 from Lake Elsinore, California, when she was just 13 years old. By the time David was performing in August 2025, she'd been missing for over a year. So if he really was responsible for what happened to her, that concert moment suddenly takes on an unbelievably dark meaning. Was David taunting investigators by showing off someone who looked like Celeste? Was he trying to throw off the timeline and make people second guess when she actually disappeared? Or was it something even deeper? A twisted psychological pattern that made him seek out girls who reminded him of her. Whatever the truth is, that moment wasn't just creepy, it was straight up sinister. The investigation had already uncovered some seriously disturbing links between David and Celeste, including matching tattoos on their right index fingers. On top of that, reports claim Celeste's own mother confirmed her daughter was dating someone named David right around the time she vanished. That alone painted a grim picture of an inappropriate relationship between the 20-year-old artist and the underage girl. And the internet hasn't stopped talking about it since. But then came the concert lookalike twist, and it added a whole new layer of psychological darkness to everything. When the FBI stepped in and officially debunked the sighting, it didn't just shut down rumors, it showed how serious this case really is. The feds don't just jump in for gossip, they move when things might involve federal crimes like kidnapping, trafficking, or even unaliving across state lines. And remember, David's tour took him across multiple states. So if he transported Celeste anywhere while she was still alive, that instantly puts him in federal territory. That means this isn't just about local cops anymore. This is about a case that could lead to charges that carry life-changing consequences. The way the FBI handled the debunking, clear, confident, and precise, made it obvious they're holding hard evidence behind the scenes. They wouldn't make a public call like that without solid proof. Whether it's digital data, phone records, surveillance, or even witness statements, they likely have a timeline that leaves zero doubt about where Celeste actually was during that period. And while that bombshell shut down one rumor, it also exposed a dangerous side of internet sleuthing. Thousands of people online swore they saw Celeste in that video, convinced they were uncovering the truth. But in reality, they were spreading confusion. The whole situation became a harsh reminder of how easily social media can blur the line between real evidence and obsession. The fact that professional investigators with access to high-end tech, forensic experts, and advanced analysis could definitively rule out that girl being Celeste showed just how limited online investigations really are. It proved that even the most passionate internet detectives can sometimes spread misinformation without meaning to, especially in cases this emotional and high profile. For David's defense team, if he ends up facing charges, the FBI's debunking could turn into both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it wipes out a major piece of evidence that could have placed him with Celeste right before her passing. But on the other hand, it opens up terrifying new questions about his mindset and behavior. Because if investigators can prove that he was consciously surrounding himself with girls who looked like Celeste while she was still missing, that's a whole new level of disturbing. By the time this all broke, David's world was already collapsing. He'd canceled multiple tour dates, lost brand deals, and watched his public image burn right before his eyes. But now, with the concert sighting proven false, his legal team might actually use that chaos to their advantage, claiming that the public's obsession and the online misinformation made it impossible for him to get a fair trial. Still, the FBI's calm, evidence-driven approach made one thing clear. This investigation isn't about social media theories or public pressure. They're following hard proof step by step, and that's what's going to lead to real justice in the end. Whether that means charges against David or new suspects entirely, the truth is coming. And it's coming from the evidence, not the internet. But the emotional fallout from this whole mess hits Celeste's family the hardest. Imagine being her parents. After months of silence and heartbreak, they suddenly see a video that seems to show their daughter alive. For a brief moment, they had hope, only for that hope to be shattered when the FBI confirmed it wasn't her. That kind of pain cuts deep. It's like reliving the loss all over again. And now, with the concert theory fully debunked, we're left staring at something even darker, a reality that feels far more twisted than anyone first imagined. The question isn't just about who was in that video anymore. It's about what it reveals about David, his actions, and the disturbing patterns that seem to keep emerging around him. While the true crime world was busy debating whether Celeste Rivas was still alive in late August 2025, something even darker was hiding in plain sight. The real shock wasn't just the false sighting. It was the eerie discovery that David had allegedly been surrounding himself with girls who looked just like Celeste while the real Celeste was already gone. That detail cracked the case wide open into a nightmare of psychology, obsession, and control. This revelation didn't just change the story. It exposed a whole new side of David that investigators had been quietly piecing together. The deeper federal agents dug, the more disturbing the pattern became. They reportedly uncovered messages and digital traces, suggesting David had been in contact with Celeste since way back in 2022, when she was around 12 and he was 17. That meant their alleged relationship wasn't random or impulsive. It had been building for years. And that long timeline revealed something much more deliberate, a calculated predatory pattern that had been quietly growing long before the world ever found out. Even worse, the investigation found signs that David had gone out of his way to hide his tracks. Deleted messages, wiped streams, and missing footage pointed to someone who knew exactly what he was doing. Someone who understood the line he was crossing and tried hard to erase the evidence. This wasn't carelessness. It looked like premeditation and guilt. And that's where the concert lookalike theory takes an even creepier turn. Criminal psychologists say it's not uncommon for certain kinds of predators to surround themselves with people who resemble their victims. It's a twisted way of holding on to control or reliving the past. That kind of behavior doesn't just scream obsession. It screams awareness, a refusal to let go of what's already gone. The evidence only gets more disturbing. Investigators say David's friends genuinely believed Celeste was his adult girlfriend, thinking she was 19, because of fake IDs that had been used during their time together. In reality, she was barely 13 to 15 years old. That deception alone reveals a lot about how far David may have gone to hide the truth, not just from the public, but from his own circle. It all paints a chilling picture of someone who knew his actions were wrong and still pushed forward. Someone who didn't just make mistakes, but made choices. And now, with every new detail, it's becoming harder to deny that this case is much more than a tragedy. It's a deep, dark unraveling of obsession and control that may have started long before anyone even noticed. Getting fake IDs for a minor isn't something that just happens overnight. It takes planning, connections, and intent. That's what makes this so disturbing. It shows that whatever was going on between David and Celeste wasn't some random fling. It was something carefully built, step by step, like a calculated grooming setup. The fact that David's own circle apparently believed Celeste was an adult means someone went to serious lengths to make that lie believable. And that kind of deception doesn't happen by accident. Federal investigators reportedly discovered even more horrifying claims that Celeste had told friends she'd been assaulted by David and someone named Gus. Gus is believed to have been an associate connected to David, and shockingly, that same man was found shot in 2024 while Celeste was still missing. That revelation expanded the case way beyond just David. It hinted at something bigger, a possible network of exploitation and violence. The timing of Gus's passing made everything even more suspicious. He died right in the middle of the period when Celeste was missing, months before her body was found, and investigators are now digging into whether his passing was a coincidence or a cover-up to silence someone who knew too much. That's the kind of detail that makes this case feel like something straight out of a dark thriller, except it's all too real. And while all this was unfolding, David's public behavior was beyond bizarre. Instead of lying low, showing guilt, or even concern for the girl he claimed to care about, he kept touring, performing on stage like nothing had happened, all while allegedly surrounding himself with girls who looked like Celeste. That kind of behavior speaks volumes. Either he had zero remorse, or he was battling a dangerous obsession that wouldn't let him stop reliving what happened. Meanwhile, federal agents weren't wasting any time. They obtained search warrants for David's Hollywood Hills home, specifically targeting potential blood traces, digital data, and forensic evidence that could directly link him to Celeste's passing. And here's the key part. The fact that they got those warrants at all means investigators had probable cause to believe crimes were committed there. When they carried out the search, reports say they seized electronic devices and key evidence, the kind of stuff that could finally connect the dots in this twisted case. Even though investigators haven't released the full details of what they found, the fact that David's Hollywood Hills home had multiple security cameras could be a total game changer. Those recordings might reveal exactly who was at the property and when, especially during the critical window when Celeste went missing. If those cameras were active, they could end up being the timeline evidence that ties everything together. But that's not all. As the investigation dug deeper, fans started taking a hard second look at David's music. And what they found was seriously disturbing. Songs that once sounded emotional or edgy suddenly hit completely differently. His breakout hit Romantic Homicide and several other tracks seemed to contain eerie themes of control, possession, and even violence toward women. And here's the haunting twist. He dropped Romantic Homicide on Celeste's birthday. Intentional or not, that timing made everyone wonder if the music was more than art. Could it have been a confession hidden in plain sight? Now, people can't help but question whether his lyrics were his way of expressing guilt or trying to romanticize something deeply dark. It's like the music itself became part of the evidence, a chilling look into his mindset during that period. The FBI's debunking of the concert footage also shined a light on how social media both fueled and twisted this whole case. The Civic Connect with Celeste years ago were now the battleground for rumors, theories, and viral misinformation. Online speculation ran wild, and in the chaos, it started to blur the lines between fact, fantasy, and justice. Meanwhile, David's career is in total free fall. Tours canceled, sponsorships cut, and his name scrubbed from major events. His entire image is collapsing in real time. But at this point, that might be the least of his worries. Because if federal investigators can connect him directly to Celeste's passing, the charges won't just end his career. They could end his freedom completely. From unaliving to trafficking across state lines, the potential penalties are life-changing. And the fact that every major company is backing away only proves one thing. They see what's coming, and it's not looking good for him at all. The industry's reaction spoke volumes. The entertainment world clearly isn't brushing this off. Major companies are pulling back fast to protect themselves from legal backlash and public outrage. Even David's own record label reportedly froze his promotions, a massive sign that the people who once profited the most from his fame now see the allegations as far too serious to ignore. When your own team starts to step away, that says everything. For Celeste's family, though, the FBI's debunking of the concert footage was heartbreaking. What had once felt like a glimmer of hope, the idea that their daughter might have been seen alive, vanished in an instant. That brief moment of relief turned into another wave of pain and confusion, leaving them back at square one, still searching for the truth about what really happened to Celeste in those final days. This case has become a chilling reminder of the dark dangers that exist for young people online, especially when fame and power collide with manipulation and control. It's a brutal example of how easily predators can use social media, status, and charm to exploit vulnerable minors who think they're living out a dream. And the concert footage mess just proves something else. The internet's good intentions can still spread dangerous misinformation when people chase theories instead of facts. But federal agents aren't chasing theories, they're chasing evidence. And as their investigation deepens, it's starting to look like this case might stretch far beyond just David and Celeste. The signs of long-term grooming, digital cover-ups, and the possible involvement of others point towards something much bigger. A web of exploitation that may have hurt more victims than anyone first realized. So now, instead of bringing closure, The whole look-alike twist has cracked open new layers of darkness. It's no longer just about one missing girl or one rising artist. It's about understanding how something this horrific could allegedly happen right under everyone's nose. As investigators close in, the world's left asking the same haunting question. How could someone with fame, power, and opportunity turn it all into something so tragic? Such horrific acts, all while keeping up the image of a young, gifted artist loved by millions. It's insane how someone can wear two faces so perfectly, one for the fans and one for the shadows. This story just keeps getting darker, and it's far from over. Let me know what you think down below. Like, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next one.